I think women can do anything.
Well, I mean, just because they can doesn't mean they should, right?
This movie's so much worse.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that.
It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but this is, I feel like, the most hostile movie towards the audience I've ever seen.
I think I know what you mean, yeah, but expand.
The movie, I feel like, is summarized within the first minute, because the first line is, women can do anything, which is great, but being able to do anything is not the same as being able to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what the angels are in this movie. They are just three Mary Sues.
Yes.
They're so interchangeable. In the 2000s version, like, they have different fighting styles, they have weaknesses, personality quirks, and different capabilities. In this one, they're basically the same.
Yeah, it was an odd mix of ostensibly being a positive movie in the sense that supposedly the message is about how much these people can achieve. And on the other hand, as you say, just being a very mean movie.
Imagine if I were to make a movie where a Chinese guy could just magically do everything because he's Chinese.
Right.
Like, the most recent movie that I can think of that's like a Chinese character lead in a Western film would be like the Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yeah.
But imagine if Shang-Chi were just good at everything he does.
Yeah.
From the get-go. There's no challenges for him whatsoever, and then there's three of him in one movie.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly reasonable
right?
comparison.
And that's basically what this is. Something that we praised the 2000s Charlie Angel, this movie did the opposite, which is they try to empower the angels by belittling others.
Yes.
Yeah, the opening of the movie is literally a disembodied guy voice off screen saying, like, women shouldn't do this and shouldn't do that. But the problem is Kristen Stewart, who opens the movie, is staring right into the lens. So now it's like she's accusing the audience.
Yeah, so the technical setup there then means that we're the POV of the person who's being sexist.
It's an imaginary argument with, like, this amalgamation of every potential sexist man that the writer created in her own head. So then, therefore, she wins every argument.
It's a dialogue being staged for your edification, where one person is clearly right and one person is clearly wrong. There's a little bit of retconning, but it is continuous with the old Charlie's Angels movies in that it happens in the same universe, and we see that the characters from this one are aware of the history of the characters from the previous ones. It is a reboot in tone, approach. It's not Charlie's Angels 3. It is definitely a soft reboot. They did, they retconned Patrick Stewart as the original Bosley and replaced both the TV show Bosley and the Bill Murray Bosley with him in pictures, which was kind of funny.
Why did they replace Bill Murray? I don't understand. It's like they needed an older version of Bosley, and Bill Murray is an older version of Bill Murray.
I think it may have been a slight against Bill Murray, who had apparently had an onset argument with Lucy Liu during the original. Descriptions vary, but it sounds like probably Bill Murray was just being a huge asshole. This 2019 movie starts with a dialogue sequence in which a character lays out a sort of soft manifesto, explaining, like, the position that the character is taking, but essentially explaining the position the movie is taking within culture. Compared to Charlie's Angels 2000 starts with them jumping out of a fucking plane and landing on a speedboat and jetting off into the distance and just, like, being super spies. And I gotta be honest, that's how you get me involved with.
Yeah, I know. I don't need a
people.
lecture at the beginning of the movie at something that I take no position in already.
Then they get into the action, and I was like, why were you sitting there saying all that shit? If it was all just leading up to kicking this guy in the face, why didn't you just kick him in the face?
She says, I did all of that to be a decoy, so, like, one other angel can take out one guy in the elevator, and then they both still just fight the whole room anyway. So then the entire speech served no purpose, which means that it only exists because I guess Elizabeth Banks just really wanted to rant about that.
Do you think Ralph's gonna be okay?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he's fine.
He seemed fine, right?
Yeah. I'm sure he's okay. I'm sure he's fine.
I took notes all through the movie. I don't have like a list of all the innocent people they hurt and more or less innocent but vaguely sexist guys that they hurt much worse. The argument I would see for the way that the movie is done is these are supposed to be abrasive figures because they live in a man's world and they're fighting back. They can be as rough and tough and unlikable and etc. as male action stars in similar movies.
If he dies, he dies.
That could be a completely reasonable approach to a movie, but I do not think that line was found at all.
No.
I just found myself consistently being surprised at how little regard these people appeared to have for human life.
Jane describes a flashback scene where she puts somebody in a chokehold, and the guy just kind of passes out on a bench, and she steals his ID. That on its own is fine. That's like such a cliche, normal scene for a character to do. But she had to just throw in that line where she goes, "But he'll wake up unless he doesn't."
Yeah.
Then that tells me is you're so callous about this.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter if you just killed a random person.
A joke like that would fit in like MacGruber.
Fassbender, dead at the age of who the fuck cares.
Like
Okay,
if it
yeah.
was way more silly a movie, it might have been easier to do those jokes. But it does seem to take place in a sort of real world with sort of real world stakes.
That's the
Much
thing,
more
yeah.
than the older movies, for sure.
The movie opens in such a tone that it wants you to take it seriously. And then it does these things where if I were to take it seriously, then it is a horrible thing.
Yeah. On the one hand, this is an action movie with a lot of violence and death that asks us to casually accept innocent people dying. It is like a nihilistic Hollywood action comedy. On the other hand, from the first moment, it is a movie about sexism, supposedly. It's a movie that takes a strong stance on issues of contemporary feminism and puts those very upfront in the movie. And I think those two things are completely incompatible. Regardless of whether or not you agree or disagree with what it has to say, you recognize that it's making a moral argument. On the other hand, there are all these things where we're obviously not supposed to be activating our moral brains. And those two things just do not work together. And I think that's why I was never comfortable in the movie. I just came to see them do car chases, do gunfights, hopefully jump out of helicopters, whatever. I didn't want to see them, super spies, deal with everyday issues of sexism. Once you see someone like rappelling down from a building with a machine gun, whether or not a security guard sexually harasses them at work, it is not a compelling
Exactly.
plot point at that time.
I would love to apply a firm touch to your back. Do you consent?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, just let me try to find this.
And then there's this guy, the saint.
Yeah, right.
I couldn't figure out if the movie is trying to tell me that this is good or bad. At some point, it felt like the movie suddenly switched sides and is now mocking non-sexist men by creating this like caricature that would feel normal on like an extreme right-wing
Right.
mock article. Do you know what I mean? What is this character?
Yeah, so the joke is that he's the perfect helper man, the perfect subservient man, the perfect...
Yeah.
Is he supposed to be a man you would actually want as a, like, partner? A life partner? Is he the equivalent of the Office bimbo is the joke? But he's not really a bimbo because he's genuinely good at a lot of stuff. And it all culminates in a winking joke that he may or may not also sexually satisfy them on command.
Okay, so what follows right after this guy is like the sudden scene of my past made me exposition of Kristen Stewart's character. All I can think about was that one Futurama episode where the professor joins a group of street racers and the one girl of that group keeps referring to her abusive past, but it just like gets wedged into every conversation, however relevant. And then like every time she talks about it, it just sounds less and less abusive, where eventually she just says, the abuse wasn't what my father said, it's what he didn't say.
lest we forget, in this Kristen Stewart backstory, we also learn literally only as a throwaway gag that she shot her fiance and killed him.
Yeah, again, yeah, just murder. And like the thing is, I get it. You have to establish backgrounds for your characters, blah blah blah. Not 49 minutes into the movie.
I actually hate. This was one of the times when I was angrier than usual at the movie when they started talking about the backstory, because I was like, Charlie's Angels 2000 just got their backstory out of the way in 2 minutes in a montage, which you also did the montage in this movie, except it conveyed fucking nothing. Charlie's Angels 2000, the montage showed them doing a bunch of awesome shit, whereas this one shows them, like, biking around.
Which reminds me, if you're interested in listening to the full-length discussion of this episode, you can find it on our Patreon. The link is on screen and in the description down below. If you go over there, you will get the entire recording in an audio format like a podcast. Check it out, support us, help us keep doing this. We really appreciate it. Anyways, to talk about how interchangeable they are, I mean, this scene where they're breaking into Naomi Scott's character's workplace, they literally make them interchangeable.
Yes.
And this whole sequence of like the heist, which is, also happened in the 2000s version, they had 3 different responsibilities and they had 3 different get-ups for it.
Yeah.
This one, in this movie, the 3 of them dress identical, and them being identical actually causes problems.
Yes.
Instead of solving anything.
Right.
The security guards notice them immediately because the identical person keeps showing up at different locations. So there was no reason for this.
Issues like the ones you're raising there are issues in every action sequence in this movie. They do things that don't make sense. They don't appear to be very good at their jobs. They fail at doing a lot of things. My biggest issue with this movie, even above all the tone and everything, is just that the Angels suck. They lose most of their fights. They are not good at any of the super spy stuff. And they just generally don't seem like competent people who achieve a lot. And the one thing that I come to Charlie's Angels for is to see 3 main actors having a ton of fun being the most competent people in the world.
Look, if it's about a bunch of new angels learning to work together, and then by the end, that's the character arc, that's one thing. But if you're going to do that also, then don't open the movie by claiming they're good at everything.
Yes.
And it's another piece of action that I have so many problems with. Comparing this car chase scene to the one in the 2001 where Cameron Diaz is chasing Crispin Glover, this scene is so shitty because in the 2001 it demonstrated that particular angel's skill and I guess her bravery, right, to literally have a game of chicken with the cars. And they did it so fun because they were using race cars on the street too, on a bridge, doing a game of chicken. This one, not only does the one angel not drive, she can't shoot worth shit.
Yeah.
She misses every shot. All it does is hit a bunch of that does a bunch of collateral damage. It goes on for way too long with no results, and it just ends with one of the good guys dying. So it felt, this car chase scene felt like it was ticking off a box that the movie needed one.
Yeah, for the
and
trailer.
that was it. Yeah.
And this is another action sequence. It's kind of the last big action sequence before the third act, but where again we're watching essentially where the Angels are at in terms of competence is that in this sequence they each manage to fight one guy and the bad guys get away. And that's compared to in Full Throttle, they have this awesome fight with the absurd Irish gang or whatever's going on in that movie.
Yeah.
But it's like them versus like 10 guys with bats and chains, and they hold their own.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that makes any sense, but I am saying that it was a delight to watch. And that's all that I am here for, so I don't know what's happening. None of the goons has any character. And that's a really big issue for movies like this, actually, because at the end of this sequence, Kristen Stewart's going to have this big fight in the Rock Crusher, and the guy she's fighting is going to end up getting ground up and, like, horribly crushed to death. That's what should happen at the end of an action sequence like this. What's bad is that ordinarily we're given a number of good reasons to hate this character and remember this character so that when they get the epic satisfying death, it's because for the last 20 minutes we've been like, oh, this fucking guy. They're going to get this guy for sure. But you want to have a reason to enjoy these people's deaths.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, these goons that they fought in this entire refinery or whatever, the Thin Man, they are not.
No, yeah, and look at the villain we got. The fucking Thin Man is iconic to me now.
Yeah.
Such a magnificent performance, and it's
And
so
he
fun.
says he has no lines. He didn't even need to like say any sexist shit or anything. He didn't
No,
even have
but
to say any-
the guy who rips out a piece of your hair and then sniffs it sensually and then screams at you, you want to see them kick that guy's ass.
In the 2000s one, the person who danced the most, well, I think the only person who danced, is Cameron Diaz.
Yeah,
There is the one in her bedroom when she wakes up and it's just a clearly gratuitous ass shot,
yeah.
right? But it shows her personality. This dance sequence in this movie, the two of them walk in, they do the same dance as each other as well as the background dancers.
Yeah, everyone's just all together doing the same.
There is no personality in it. There's no differentiation. There's no goal. It's just a trailer shot.
Exactly right, which ironically makes it seem more exploitative than the very openly exploitative Cameron Diaz dance sequences. At least they also thought of plot and character reasons in that movie. There's no question that it was there to show off how sexy Cameron Diaz is.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the only reason for the scene. We didn't talk about the fact that the bad guy makes the one wear a golden collar for no particular reason.
Oh,
near the end.
Yeah, there's still hammering home the...
There's so many just like first draft ideas in this movie.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. I thought it was like a torture device because they need the code from her or whatever. I thought he was going to like slowly tighten the collar. But no, it turned out to just be these bad guys are so arbitrarily sexist that they just collar her for fun.
You know, that's probably the right word for it. It's, the sexism in such a weird way feels so arbitrary. And it's very odd to say that because like this movie did sexism wrong. Actually, I'm just reminded of this one scene at the end here where at the party it is revealed that every woman met along the way was an angel. I get what they're trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Every woman is capable of everything. When it should be anything, not everything. But like, I'm still just going back to Shang-Chi. Can you imagine if at the end of Shang-Chi, every Chinese person met along the way was a superhero? How much it would reduce the main character's journey if by doing that. It would devalue what they've accomplished.
And
which
for the
already
record,
is very little in this movie.
It sure did for me, because what I said was not only did they suck that hard, but they were actually being supported by like 30 more people.
I don't know. Ultimately, I just, like, this movie is just so not fun to watch. It's not fun in its action. It's not fun in its performance, maybe excluding Kristen Stewart. It's not fun in its plot or the MacGuffin. More than anything else, it's not fun to be lectured to. If you want to empower one group of people, whether it's like an ethnicity or gender, you have to give them weaknesses or something that they can like overcome. Give them qualities that show them why they're better than the people that are sort of trampling over them, right? Rather than making everyone else worse. In the same way that like your car doesn't get cleaner just because you throw shit at your neighbor's car.
On that note, can we talk about things that we, if making the film, might have done differently from Elizabeth Banks?
Yes. You know, this whole segment I have completely forgot existed. Yeah, Chris.
Yeah.
Tell me, share your thoughts on this segment of what can we do better than what Banks did in this movie.
Take that, Banks. Leaned into the nihilism. Do an R-rated, hard-edged, unlikable Charlie's Angels. Like, I'm thinking about like the Birds of Prey approach, or like the movie Bachelorette, like women with like genuinely bad attitudes. So like if they're going for a nihilistic tone, just go all the way. Make the movie like the Angels are stepping into like a macho 80s action movie where it's like a sexist environment. It's all toxic men. Like, get Gerard Butler, get Mark Wahlberg, get like the whole cast of the Expendables as the bad guys, and have the angels going to toe with them. Plan, like maybe Callisto is like some sort of brainwave device, and they can get it target women, and their plan is to like throw the country into economic catastrophe, frying the brains of women. That, you know, they would say something about like women are earning more and more and blah blah blah, and we can throw this country into upheaval if we fry them all, and then the men have to take care of them, or maybe it just slaps them and makes them subservient. I don't know, but like if it's gonna be about sexism, make it a sexist plot where the bad guy's trying to do something sexist, so we can watch the angels fight sexism, not just in their everyday lives, but also on the stage of world espionage. Number one. Number two, complete opposite idea. Cameron Diaz is retired, but bring back Lucy Liu, bring back Drew Barrymore, make a movie about 2 generations of angels. Like, I was thinking about a dynamic like The Other Guys or Spy or something. So, like, Lucy and Drew are still, like, the superstar angels at the thing, and then the new team are, like, the youngsters, and they like, can't get anything, because all the glory goes to the older angels. And then, of course, everything goes wrong. Maybe Cameron Diaz gets killed, and now our young team has to step up and fill the angel shoes for the first time, bring in the old angels, and use it as a way to look at how, like, our perceptions of female action stars have changed from 2000 to now, and have them butt heads and have them figure out how to work together. These are my 2 pitches to you. Well, not to you, Elizabeth Banks. I'm sorry. Like, I feel like Charlie's Angels 2019 had elements of both those things in it. So all I'm really saying is, like, push it more in one or the other direction.
Yeah, pick one. Yeah. They had elements of both, but they can't coexist.
No, not at all. Just like sexist workplace behavior and world-ending weapons can't coexist. Yeah, shows the scene where Thanos like walks out of his office and like calls his secretary Toots and smacks her on the butt.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, now I'm really against this Thanos fellow.
Next week we are gonna do technically a double feature, but we're doing it this way because the 2 movies are, I don't know, basically identical. We're gonna do both of the 365 days. I just hope it's not too long. I just want it to be, yeah, it better not feel like 730 days is all I'm saying.
Unfortunately for Caroline, who is of Polish ancestry, it's been a real rough ride these last couple of years. What with 365 Days came out, it turned out that Tommy Wiseau is Polish.
Everybody, thank you for watching, and yeah, like and subscribe
And
if you want.
Don't call us Angel.
If you don't, that's fine too.
No, subscribe. God damn it, George.
I'm very defeated today because of this movie. Okay, we're done.